Hey, what's up? You're watching The Sit Down. I'm DJ Sixsmith. Look who's here. It's the one and only Tommy Davidson. That's him right there, too.
There, I did it.
Living in color. That plays on a lot of different things in your life.
It does.
Good to meet you, man.
Thanks for having me. Not to disturb any camera angle.
You're good.
I got that from Bruce.
You move and shake however you want.
Yeah,
Bruce Lee was one of your guys.
Yeah, he was my guy.
So what was it about Bruce that stuck out to you?
Well, Bruce said that if you express yourself in a human way, then nothing can make a difference. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That you'll always be able to succeed in whatever it is you put your mind to. And I took that from him. You know, it was a takeaway.
Right.
You know, of course, I loved him in Enter the Dragon. Of course, I loved him in all that stuff. But the interesting thing I loved about him the most was that he was able to change the whole perception of Chinese and Asians in the whole world by emptying himself out and showing the hero side of himself and his character. And it changed the whole perception of Chinese being these people that are like kowtowing and bowing down to people.
Yeah, and Hollywood didn't accept him at first either. Had to go and do his own thing.
At all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I might be at that point myself. You know, but it was through that lesson, you know, that I was able to attach to my experiences that has made me, you know, a stronger performer and have a lot more positive influence on society, man.
I like the inspirations you have because you have Bruce Lee at one point and then Sammy Davis Jr.
Right.
There's a whole different side of it.
And that's a whole nother slice of life. And it has to do with Yiddish, but that's a whole nother thing. If I can take this high out for a second, then maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. Or this is my mini matzo ball. There you go.
You still got it.
Yeah.
So when I'm reading this book, I'm like 80 pages in. I imagine this is really cathartic because the first half of it is really a ton of the stuff you went through in childhood. So like you were found in a pile of garbage by the woman who adopted you. Like that's not an easy thing to talk about, let alone write about. So how did this all begin?
Well, my sister called me and my mother had passed away for probably a couple of years. And she said, "You never talk about mom." So I decided that I'm going to try to do a book. But that was just a decision, and it took a long time for the book to even materialize. I told my representatives about it, you know, in business, and they were like, "Whatever, dude, whatever, go audition somewhere."
They were just trying to push you into a job.
Just go audition.
Yeah.
If you get a part, then we'll talk to you, man.
Right.
You know, I'm going,
But you wanted to do something you cared about, right?
Yeah, so it came. It came out of like, I'm not going to say nowhere, but it came out of nowhere, you know. The author, my co-author, called me and said, "I heard that you want to do a book." A writer from In Living Color told him that. So I must have been talking to people about it. And he said, "Well, let's go get a publishing deal and I'll partner with you on the book." So we went around trying to get a publishing deal, and it took 2 years or more. 27 people, 27 publishers just said flat out no.
Really?
Yeah, and I was about to quit. And he said, "Don't quit, because I can't believe that there's not one publishing company on the face of this earth that doesn't want to do your story."
Had you written any part of it yet when you were making these meetings? Like, were 27 people just turning you down without anything? Or did they have something there?
We had written down the basis of what the book was going to be about.
Because to me, like, this is a yes. Like, I'm not even blowing smoke. Like, there's so much stuff going on here. And just the number of people that you interacted with over the years, like, that's a story to me.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, you know, but luckily I'd read earlier how Dr. Seuss was turned down over a period of like 15 years. And they didn't like his books. They thought they were acid trips. You know? So, you know, I mean, you know, my inspiration is drawn from people's successes and studying people's successes. And so I continue to believe that this could happen. And so it materialized. It materialized. So it's just more proof. It's more proof for me and for those in front of me. And for anyone who reads this, it's proof that you can make something out of nothing.
Yeah, no question about it. So what was the toughest part to write in here?
Probably just the painful, isolating experiences that would be embarrassing for anyone else. Like having the addiction problem, like having to deal with, you know, being ashamed of my family. I was ashamed. Or some of the violent stuff that happened to me, you know, or that I witnessed. You know, or even having to talk about people being abusive to me in the business and how abusive they were towards me. and the reaction that that had on me, and the effect it had on me, how sad it made me, how I felt a feeling of despair at a point, because I'm like, how nice can you possibly be? Because I was taught that if someone ain't nice to you, you beat their ass. So what happens when someone ain't nice to you and you can't beat their ass? You gotta absorb it.
Right, you keep it inside.
Yeah, so it's those kind of things.
You look to numb it with something else.
Yeah. So that's what was hard, was being afraid to be judged, because that's all that's happened to me. See, the very thing that I feared was my life story.
It's I mean, every part of your life.
Yeah, it was my life story.
Growing up with a white family, automatically, even when you were in an area in the Washington, D.C. area, there was a lot of crap going on there and the wrong people that you were involved with, being judged there, being judged in Hollywood. Like, regardless, you can't avoid it. And when do you get to the point where you just embrace it, where you're just like, screw it?
You get it.
I get it.
You get it, man. You get it.
But it's just,
you know?
it's real. So when do you get to the point when you're just like, screw it, I'm done with all this crap?
It happened probably about 20 years ago, when I really got some really solid recovery behind me, and really got past that dark period when I didn't understand who I was, and I didn't have an understanding of how things really work, you know. And I now have a simple understanding. I do not have an understanding of how things work. You know, I just don't. And I'm glad the sun comes up without my help, because it would come up when I want to get up. You know? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it just occurred to me, you know, it didn't occur to me, but I worked for the revelation that came, that I'm not in control of much. And the only thing I can control is what I do. And what I do is going to determine who I am. So if I keep it simple and do good, I'll get good. Or learn how to do good.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's when that started to really make sense. There is a part in this book where I talk about my brother, and he described to me the difference between negative and positive behavior.
Right, and that was a big one for you. Yeah.
I didn't know. He had to point it out. But I was in a dilemma, like Anakin Skywalker was. You know, his mom had been killed.
Right. What are you gonna do?
You know, before he's having dreams of his new wife getting killed. Right? He's afraid of what's going to happen. Somebody tells him, you know, there's other ways to do it. You know, you can go to the dark side and you'll be cool. The light side is saying, don't do it.
Right.
But he's saying, yeah, but I'm going to lose my
And you got to make a really tough
family.
decision.
You have to make a decision by yourself. What you're going to do. Well, with my brother saying that, it at least started the process of me understanding more about positive and negative. You see? So the seed was planted by him, you know? So the result is taking all of the goods that outweigh the bads, that saved my ass, and putting them in here.
I like it.
And showing the journey.
Yeah, it's been an insane journey.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
That's all I can really say.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, one of the interesting parts of the journey was when you perform at the Apollo, one of the early moments for you. And at that point, like you mentioned in the book, it's like they really told you how they felt at that point at the Apollo. It was a rough crowd. So what do you remember from that experience? I
remember that I was a badass performer, because they couldn't do nothing with me.
Right, they couldn't shake you.
The roughest crowd in the world.
Yep.
Could not ruffle me, couldn't mess with me. But I ended up losing it because the judge kind of fixed it, you know, and then I started learning the business.
The politics involved with
the
business.
politics involved. So obviously, I killed this singer, you know what I mean? But he did a great job too. So it was a kind of a tie, really. And when the audience is determined who wins, you can actually determine the winner if you're the MC. Because he goes, and finally the applauses were the same, right? And so then he goes, all right, guys, seems to be a tie. So who do you want? Do you want Tommy Davidson from Washington, D.C.? Or do you want David Peason from New York City? You know, and of course,
and which way is the crowd gonna go? Yeah, Harlem, yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, I lost, but I didn't lose, because who's David Peason now? You see, so I just kept going.
And that was an important step for you.
Yeah, and who he is he's a wonderful person.
Right.
And who had a great career. You know what I'm saying? And is a good guy, because I met him along the way.
Right.
You know, who I am is who I am. And so I didn't let that stop me, that's all.
Just part of the journey.
Hey, things may appear that way.
Right.
You know, but that's why, you know, I got only 2 eyes. You know, I can't
You can
see
only control what you can control, like you said.
Yeah.
So then you get out to LA, and at that point, I mean, the comedy scene was insane, but the one moment you talk about is being in between Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. And Pryor not talking to you until the very last moment.
The very last moment.
That's just an insane experience for you.
Yeah,
What was the dopest part of that for you?
Was that I could survive on stage with these 2 icons and 2 superpowers in comedy. And by that time, I was ready. And I did not know that this beautiful Jewish woman set me up for that. You know, and she kept me out of the limelight at the Comedy Store for 3
Mitzi,
years.
yeah.
Mitzi Shore made me wait and wait. And when I hated her, I'm like, this bitch, what do I gotta do to be successful at the Comedy Store? And finally I get a call. You're in the main room with Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor. And I'm like, okay, cool. How much time do they want me to do up front? They're like, no, you're co-headlining with them. You're in the middle of them.
That's awesome.
So we both, all 3 of us had 30 minutes.
Worth the wait.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm between them in each show. And I got to see how well I play basketball compared to the other superstars.
Right, because they had the best parts of their game, but you also had your game.
Yeah.
So what separated you from the rest of the pack at that point? What was the best part of your game at that point?
I just think that I was bringing in a new kind of diversity to comedy. See, I did singing impressions too.
Well, the impressions were a huge part of what made you big.
So I just think as a machine, you know, I just think that I had more moving parts, you know, and I still do have a lot more moving parts than the average stand-up comedian. You know, it doesn't make me any better. It's just that I have a lot more weapons on stage. Some people don't even use those weapons to score, and they don't need them. You know, David Chappelle doesn't have to sing. He's just straight up funny.
Right, he just hits you right
like,
there.
Oh
with
my
it.
God.
Yeah.
He's straight up funny. Chris Rock doesn't have to do impressions. You know, it's his mind.
The way that he builds out his jokes.
It's his
really thoughtful.
mind.
Yeah.
He's mega mind.
Jim Carrey with his physical humor.
Yeah, he doesn't have to with
right?
physical. You know, I just happen to encompass a little bit of everything that everybody got. You know what I mean? So I'm like Bruce Lee in that way. You know, don't mess with me though.
Right.
Because you know, when it comes to actual fighting, I'm
ready.
Well, you
have the experience for your days
if the
in the
enemy
streets.
is the audience, then I got something for everybody. You know what I mean? But I'm just happy to be doing it.
Do you ever wonder what In Living Color would have looked like in the social media era? How crazy that would have been?
Oh man, they would have shut us down probably.
Yeah. Well, because I'm watching like some old clips of you today, and they're hilarious.
They would have shut
And
us
of course,
down.
at that time, people are responding and reacting, but like that could have hit all over the world.
Yeah.
Like it could have been even bigger.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just glad they probably would have shut. If it happened now, they shut us down.
Right, it'd be impossible to do the same way.
You know, they're doing gay jokes, they're doing black jokes, they're doing, you know.
But at that
everybody's
time,
scared
much
now.
different.
At that time, much different, and good for us.
And it was hilarious.
Yeah, because it brought us to this point.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and now people are a little bit more cautious. Networks are a little bit more cautious about who offends who. You know, and in a world where someone can walk into a school. It walks into a school and shoots the children, you know, and isn't prosecuted as much as the guy who was caught selling crack.
It's a big problem.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, you know, that's kind of the way things are now. And I'm well aware that I can't change the way things are. The books shows that, you know, and I'm just, for the first time, you know, really happy to have had all the different influences that made me me. They were not just my mom. They were the Beatles, Hendrix, Earth, Wind & Fire, Donny Hathaway, Anne Frank, Fidel Castro, Bob Marley, Martin Luther King, Stevie Nicks, Bono.
Yeah, you take a little bit
Jordan,
from every one of these people.
Kobe.
Yeah, anything
It's
about...
it's all a part of it's all, that's what's in orbiting me.
Yeah.
There's all these beautiful, strong, different energies that make up a whole.
Did you meet Kobe?
I did, not really a close
Because you and
friend.
Magic were pretty tight, right?
Yeah, me and Magic were, you know, friends, but
Right.
Kobe, I knew him. You know, I knew Kobe over the years, you know, and Kobe came in, he was a bright, beautiful dude, and remained that way, you know? And it's so sad that that something like that comes to pass, but, you know, so is slavery, so was Auschwitz, you know, so was the potato famine in Ireland. You know, so
really tragic moments we've had to deal with.
I mean, you know, so, you know, so goes the bitter with the sweet, you know, and life is a balance, and that's a part of it. And it goes back to the book. You know, if I was able to contribute to society something as valuable as what I think is in here, you know, and I say what I think is in here.
There's a lot of good stuff in there.
You see what I'm saying?
I can tell you that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Somebody can take it.
But yeah, people got to make
somebody
their
take
own
it and throw it over the shoulder.
Sure.
You know. Whatever, dude. You know what I mean? So Mein Kampf had an audience.
Yeah, everybody's got their niche.
Yeah, Mein Kampf had an audience. You know, so I would rather have this audience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I hear you.
That's all I can say.
Well, when I think about the stuff you've done in your career, like Oscar Proud, for example, I mean, the Proud
Hey,
family.
where you at? Sugar Mama! Peter Proud, wait a second. Where the monkey at? Where my Proud's name go?
How did that even come about for you?
Man, the producers, Bruce Smith and Ralph Farquhar called me and said, we want you to do the voice of this father in the Proud family. And I said, well, what do you want me to do with him? They said, just look at his picture and tell us how he sounds. And so I said, okay. So I looked at his picture. They gave me a couple of lines. And they said, now come on in. And they said, so how does he sound? Well, it sound like this. Peter, I'm going to tell you one thing. The reason why, Sugar Mama, hold on. I'm talking to her right now. You know, so
Who did you mimic that after? Was there anybody? Where does that fast talking come from?
That came out of my head seeing the picture.
Right.
Because I see in pictures. You know, I was raised on Scooby-Doo, Speed Racer, the Three Stooges, Lucy and Desi.
Right, so it's all that coming together into this Oscar Proud character.
The Beverly Hillbillies, laughing, you know, the Sound of Music, you know, the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
It's all here. Sesame Street, the Electric Company, Wham, Pop-Tarts, Captain Crunch. You know what I mean? The Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it all goes in here. You know?
And then it came out.
Yeah, man. And I just like, and I'm like Rambo. You know?
Well, another interesting one was Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
That was another distinct character.
Very.
What do you
distinct.
take from that experience working with Jim Carrey?
The first time I never had to audition for something.
Wow, that's a big deal at that point.
It's the first time I had to never audition. I didn't have to audition for this movie. You
Like,
know?
nope, Tommy's the guy.
Well, because Jim Carrey sees me as a movie star.
Right.
You know, everybody in Hollywood doesn't see me as a movie star. Because I kind of go into the room, you know, and they go, hey, man, you were great on The Living Color. You really were. Okay, so read the thing? Okay, thank you. Hey, man, have a good day. You know what I mean? And I go, you don't want me? Like, I'm really good.
Yeah, you were boxed in at that point.
Yeah, I'm leaving the audition going, yeah, but I'm really good, though.
Right.
Like,
I got more range than just
I
this
could
show.
kill this thing.
Yeah.
You know, that's like watching Michael Jordan go to an empty basket and dunk it and dunk it and dunk it and dunk it and shoot three-pointers. They go, hey, man, thanks for coming. You know what I mean? And I go,
right. Like, that's it?
No basketball team wants
Right.
me? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it felt good because Jim knows. He's watched me dunk. We played in the games together.
Right.
You know, the game of comedy and sketch and movies. So when he called, said, I got something for you.
Just a little out there.
He didn't even ask me. He just said, here it is. Described it to me. He said, go try the wardrobe on, which is just a loincloth.
You're like, Jim, what have you got me into,
Right. And so when we got there, it was easy to do because the director was Steve Odekirk, who was also a comedian,
Right.
stand-up, and he's also was a writer in Living Color.
There you go.
So he's the director of the movie. It's me and Jim. It's like piece of cake. But this is when I realized that Jim was a huge star because I had to be on a plane in like 40 minutes or something. We had to finish the scene that was going slow because they couldn't get the guys to put enough dirt on me fast enough to make this effect work.
Right.
Because he's supposed to be burying me with this, I'm supposed to be burying him with this dirt, you know, and off camera they're putting shovels of dirt. It's going too slow. So Jim gets up and goes, hey man, we need more dirt, man, because Tommy got to get out of here. Okay, a bulldozer, please. Can I get a bulldozer? I'm like, get out of here. You can't just ask for a bulldozer.
They brought in a bulldozer?
Dude! Like 15 minutes later, a bulldozer comes over the hill.
Oh my gosh.
And picks up the dirt and pours it on him up to here. And then they do the shovels only up to here, you know, and then he's like, He gets out of the dirt. He said, "Tommy, thanks for coming, man. Thanks, man." I was like, "Okay, cool."
You're like, that's a number one on a set right
like,
there.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'll see you later. This dude just ordered a bulldozer like you order water from a waitress. Hey,
That's
can I get a cup
insane.
of water to go with that?
A bulldozer comes right
And
in.
I'm like, dude, he's large. He's large.
Well, another one I liked from you was Joanna Man. I mean, that was a good one,
that was
too.
a good contribution.
And again, like another character you just kind of just fully unleashed there.
Yeah. That's another one of the roles that I got where I didn't really have to audition. They called and they were like, "Hey, man, you know, we like you for this.
Come on through."
What they honestly really said was, "Our movie's hurting.
They
and
need you.
we really want a character in there that can really bring this thing up."
Right.
So
Yeah, your character makes
I
it pop.
brought them that character.
Right.
And so he's a mix of like Puffy,
Yep.
you know, and Little John.
Yeah, there's
You know what I mean?
definitely
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so he got the gold teeth like Little John, but he's got the whole puffy, you know, thing. And we scored. You know, oh, damn things got 7. You know, this character could just make everything work. You know what I mean? Filet mignon. How do you like it? How do you like it? You know, he just said what he wanted to say.
Right. Your character becomes a stealer of the scene.
Yeah. So I fulfilled my purpose there.
I feel you.
Once again.
So what was the toughest part about trying to get people to see you outside of In Living Color? Because you're doing this other stuff and people are giving you a chance. But why do you feel like people were still saying no and still just seeing you as that one thing?
I don't think it was because I wasn't talented. I just think that success in my town and success in my business has to do with money turning over. You know, and I hadn't to that point been a part of a really money-making project, because that's what pushes you forward. It's a business.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I'm always in the running. I'm always in the running for it as long as you keep going. You know, ask the Philadelphia Eagles, who ended up beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
You just got to be in the mix.
You got to be in the mix.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't be caught with a Saints, with a New Orleans Saints hat on when I was growing up.
Right.
But they hoisted the Lombardi because they believed that
They
they
made it
could
happen.
win the doggone thing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm always in the running as long as I got my facts straight. Any day now. Any day now.
Yeah. You're still
You know
out
what
there
I mean?
doing
Yeah,
that thing.
and who's to say?
Right. It really, like it was with
who's
Jim
it?
Carrey. It takes
Yeah.
one person to be like, we want this guy to
Yeah,
come
right.
in.
Yeah, but who's to say that,
Right.
that I haven't done that already?
Sure. I
You
mean,
know,
listen, In Living Color was amazing.
You count success both ways, right?
Absolutely.
You count success with the way you influence people in a positive way, and you count success in making money too.
Right. I mean, just what
You know?
you've overcome in general, like even with just addiction, like you've went through a lot of stuff. So
I'll take it.
What
I'll take
was
that.
what was the lowest point for you? Like, what was the toughest thing to overcome in that journey?
The toughest thing to overcome when it comes to that is to understand that I'm not perfect, and that hurt, because as long as I could make you feel like I'm okay as a person, I felt okay as a person. But that was really the impossible thing to do, because the secret is my mother's white,
Right.
you know, I'm black, or whatever those things are inside of me, where I never quite felt equal to you for whatever the reasons were. And that helped me get over that, because that was the one thing I didn't do perfect. I could not overcome that addiction by myself. Anything else was a piece of cake, because I turned into a chameleon.
Right. You're
Because
just
of my
adapting
situation.
wherever
I could
you
make,
are.
yeah, that was the one thing I couldn't get away with.
Family, school, work, whatever it was.
The one thing I couldn't get past.
But you couldn't be a chameleon there, or else
No.
you're going way
No.
down in the ditch.
Yeah, and guess what? It worked for me to reach a dead end, because then I started not having to be perfect for you. All I needed to do was admit it.
It's a lot of pressure to try and be perfect for everybody.
All I had to do was admit it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure it was freeing once you did
Yeah,
it.
man.
You admit it.
It's still kind of.
You get the help with it.
It's still kind of, because people go, yeah, but what about that? What about that? What about that? Yeah.
Yeah, but those people aren't
yeah.
looking at themselves in the mirror. That's
You
the
know
thing.
what I mean? But I'm just like them,
Absolutely.
because I didn't know that until that happened for me. So in that arena, I was judgmental. Just
yeah,
get
we're all
over it.
judgmental. Yeah.
Just get over it. Just
Right.
don't drink. Don't use.
No, but then
Just
once
stop.
you live it, then
Yeah,
you
once
understand
you live it, then you're like, okay. So you never know. You put yourself in other people's feet. You know, and it's been a wonderful revelation to me because actually I've been like that the whole time because I know how it is to walk in white feet.
Right.
And I know how it is to walk in black feet, see? So I knew two sides of a story. I just needed to get the two sides of my story understood.
And define your identity in the process.
Exactly, and it's perfect. It's perfect in that sense. It's perfect in that sense because in fearing judgment from others, actually my life experience has freed me of that. And it was love and understanding that freed me of that. And compassion for others that freed me of that. See, they were in minimal supply in my heart, and I didn't know it. So here I am, you know, and I'm nitpicking because I'm this, you know. I can justify being black as I can take black too and go, hey, I'm a victim, therefore, you know, I could do this.
Sure.
Or I got the right to do that, or I could do that, you know. It's very tricky.
It's
very
extremely
tricky.
complex.
It's you know, but I'm not the only one dealing with it because there were 7 deadly sins, right?
Right.
You know, and I'm like, I saw the movie 7.
Everybody's going through stuff.
Yeah. John Doe! Don't look at the box! Don't look at the box! John Doe got the upper head! You know.
Everybody's got their stuff.
John Doe got the upper head! You know what I mean? And so with him, you know, whom I love as an actor, I finally get a chance to meet him.
That's cool.
I'm on the red carpet.
There you go.
I was a kid in the 70s that watched the Electric Company, which was like a hipper version of Sesame Street.
Okay.
You know, Boston, Mass. 2, 1, 3, 4. Those who come from that generation would know, right? And so here's my chance to meet my hero from the Electric Company. I'm on the red carpet, and there he is. You know what I mean? And so he was with, I think, his nieces or something. And they ran over to me. Can we please take a picture with you? I said, sure, but can you
make this happen for me?
Can you ask him if he'll take a picture for me? Tell him that one of the kids from the Electric Company wants to take a picture with him. Right? So they go, and I'm watching them tell him that, and he's going, no. Right? So I'm like, oh, man. But then I'm seeing him like lift little white babies up and kiss them and hug all these white people, and I'm like, dang, you know, this little black boy that only had you.
Right.
Because there weren't a lot of black people back on TV back then. I only had you to look up to. You know, you won't even take a picture with me.
That hurts.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That hurt for a couple of seconds. And then I was just like, so glad to be me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a hallelujah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've fully embraced who you are.
Yeah,
and I'm sure that was part
of
it
it
too.
I'm like Jack, you know, Jack and Jack in the Box with the hat. You know, he could do all kinds of sourdough. You want the sourdough, man, or the curly fries? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, Jack in the Crack, you needed in the middle of the night.
How about when people check out your book? What are the big things you want them to take away?
The takeaway is the freedom in it, the freedom for the reader. The freedom for the reader. If this was designed so the reader can close the pages and see life in a positive and optimistic way, because I've been able to do it through what is given to me from others. I took what was given to me from others and I put it in here. And I just said, here.
Go for it. Now it's your turn.
Yeah. Did you get it?
Yeah.
All right.
I got it, man. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Check out Tommy's book. You won't be disappointed. For Tommy, I'm DJ. See you next time here on The Sit Down.